They say coming home is the sweetest part of recovery. That when your bones stop aching and your breath no longer trembles in your chest, you find your way back to your bed, your chair, your people, and somehow, it all starts to feel like life again. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes, you come back to a home that has learned to breathe without you. My name is Leonard. I'm 57 years old, and until recently, I thought I understood the shape of my life. A modest house in the suburbs. A wife named Marlene who kept everything in order. 2 grown kids, Mason and Lily, who still visited on Sundays. A garage full of tools I barely had time to use. A favorite mug that said, "Number 1 Dad," in peeling letters. Simple things. Predictable things. I like that. Then came the hospital. It started with a headache. Nothing more. Then the room tilted. Then came the lights, the sirens, the hands pressing down on my chest. I remember gasping, not because I was afraid, but because it was all so fast. One moment I was fixing a loose shelf in the hallway. The next, I was someone fragile. Someone who needed permission to stand. I spent nearly 3 months in the rehabilitation center. 3 months relearning how to walk, to grip a pen, to speak clearly again. The stroke had carved a deep silence through my body. I fought to fill it every day. Marlene visited at first. She brought crossword puzzles and granola bars. Her smile never reached her eyes, but I told myself it was stress. She stayed for 30 minutes, then 20. Then she stopped coming altogether. Said it was too hard on her. I understood. Or pretended to. Mason called once every few weeks. Lily, not even that. I told myself they were busy. That they cared in their own way. I didn't want to believe otherwise. When the doctor finally told me I was cleared to go home, I packed my bag like a child leaving summer camp. My hands shook not from weakness but from hope. I missed my bed. I missed the sound of my wind chimes in the backyard. I missed my life. The nurse wheeled me to the curb. A driver picked me up. My family hadn't offered. That was the first clue. When the car pulled into my driveway, I felt something tighten in my chest, not pain, not fear. Just a stillness. Like the house itself was holding its breath. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I had my keys, but I hesitated. Something about using them felt wrong. Like I was intruding on a place that didn't belong to me anymore. But I opened the door. And stopped. My armchair was gone. Not moved. Not relocated. Gone. In its place was a sleek gray couch I'd never seen before. The coffee table was different, too, glass, not wood. The rug had changed. The photos on the wall, once full of messy memories, were now neat frames of posed smiles. It looked like a magazine. Cold. Curated. Like a home someone had designed for guests, not for living. I stepped inside. The air smelled different. Vanilla, maybe? Marlene always preferred citrus. Marlene? I called. Silence. I walked toward the kitchen, the muscles in my legs still unsure. Every step felt foreign. Like I was trespassing in a place that wore my address but not my name. She was there. At the table. With a book and a cup of tea. She looked up, and for a moment I thought I saw guilt. But it passed. "Oh," she said. "You're early." "Early? They discharged me this morning," I said slowly. "I called. Left a message." She stood, wiped her hands on a dish towel. "I must have missed it." No hug. No welcome. Just silence folding in around us like dust. "I'll get your room ready," she said after a pause. "We've been using it for storage." We. That word hit harder than the silence. I walked down the hall. My steps slowed as I passed Mason's old room, still untouched, posters on the walls. Lily's door slightly ajar, the scent of her perfume still lingering. Then I reached mine. She wasn't lying. Boxes. A folded treadmill. Coats. Holiday decorations. As if I were gone long enough to become a season. That night, I slept on the couch. The one I didn't recognize. The one that took the place of mine. In the following days, I tried to settle in. To pretend nothing had changed. But the truth was a weight pressing on my chest, heavier than any stroke. No one asked how therapy had gone. No one asked if I needed help. Meals appeared on the table, but not for me. I had to fix my own plate. Marlene stopped calling me Han. She called me Leonard. Like a neighbor she barely knew. I tried to reconnect. Offered to cook. To clean. To watch a movie together. I'm busy, she said. One afternoon, I heard voices in the backyard. Laughter. I peeked through the curtains. Mason was there. So was Lily. They hadn't come inside. Hadn't told me they were here. They were sitting around the fire pit, roasting marshmallows, like everything was fine. Like I didn't exist. Like I was something that had already been buried. I stood there for a long time, watching. Then I closed the curtain. And went back to the kitchen. And poured myself a glass of water with shaking hands. Maybe I died in that hospital bed. Maybe this is just the shadow I left behind. But if this is the life they chose without me, they'll have to learn I'm still here. And I remember everything. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of footsteps, quick, unfamiliar, decisive. They weren't Marlene's. Hers were slower now, more careful, especially since her knee surgery 2 winters ago. These steps belonged to someone younger. I sat up, or tried to. The couch creaked under my weight. My back ached. The pillow she had given me was decorative, not meant for sleep. I rubbed my eyes and listened. A male voice. It came from the kitchen. I forced myself to stand and followed it down the hallway, my legs still clumsy from months of hospital confinement. I held the wall for balance, my fingers brushing against the new paint. A different shade. A cooler tone. It hadn't been like this before. "Morning, babe," the voice said. Marlene's laugh followed. I paused. When I turned the corner, I saw him. A man in his late 20s, maybe early 30s. Broad-shouldered. Confident. Shirtless. He was standing at the stove. Cooking eggs. In my kitchen. Using the skillet I bought for Marlene on our 20th anniversary. He turned and glanced at me, not startled, not awkward. Just assessing. "Oh," he said. "You must be Leonard." I blinked. "Excuse me?" Marlene stood behind him. She wasn't flustered. She wasn't even embarrassed. "This is Connor," she said, as if introducing a plumber. "He's been helping around the house." "Helping?" He looked like he'd been living there. "I thought I'd give him your room while you were away," she continued. "It didn't make sense to leave it empty. But he's still here. He needed a place to stay," she said. I stared at her. My Marlene. The woman who once cried when I was an hour late coming home from a work trip. Now standing casually beside a stranger, explaining my own displacement like it was a grocery list. Connor smiled. "Don't worry, man. I'll be out soon." I didn't reply. I couldn't. My room. My bed. My life. Occupied. I spent the day outside in the shed. It was the only space that still felt like mine. Dust hung in the air like memory. Tools rusted in place. The vice grip I once used to build Mason's science fair project still sat in the corner, untouched. I sat on the old stool, breathing in the scent of sawdust and oil. This place hadn't changed. Not yet. I stayed there until the sun dipped behind the fence. When I came inside, Connor was on the couch, my couch, watching a show I didn't recognize. Marlene was beside him. Their shoulders touched. "Dinner's in the fridge," she said, not looking up. I heated up a plate. Ate alone at the table. No conversation. No warmth. Just the soft murmur of the television and the clink of my fork against porcelain. That night I slept in the shed. Days passed. Connor stayed. Sometimes he walked around shirtless. Sometimes he left dirty dishes in the sink. Marlene never complained. Lily visited once. She hugged her mother, smiled at Connor, and gave me a polite hello, as if I were her uncle. Mason didn't come at all. One afternoon, I overheard Connor say, "He's sweet. Bit lost. But sweet." He was talking about me. Like I was some old man they'd taken in. Like I wasn't the reason that roof stood above their heads. I walked to my bedroom door that night, my old door, and stood there, hand on the knob. Then I turned away. Went back to the shed. The silence was kinder there. But the breaking point didn't come from them. It came from a letter. Folded, forgotten, tucked between bills on the kitchen counter. It had my name on it, in Lily's handwriting. I opened it and read, "Dad, I don't know if this will reach you. Mom said you wouldn't be coming home anytime soon. I just wanted to say, I miss you. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know they'd moved someone else in. I didn't know you were alone. I'm sorry I haven't called more. I thought maybe you didn't want to talk to us. But if you're reading this, and you want to see me, just write back. Please." I read it again. And again. Then I sat down. And cried. But not from pain. From something else. Hope. The shed had become my shelter, not just from the weather, but from the weight of pretending. Inside those 4 dusty walls, I was still Leonard. I was still someone. A man with tools, a past, a memory of hands that built, that fixed. Out there, in the main house, I was barely a shadow. But Lily's letter changed something. I read it a dozen times over, tracing every letter with my thumb like it was sacred. Her handwriting hadn't changed since high school, round, a little messy, full of life. I could hear her voice in every word, feel the hesitation between lines. The way she signed it, "Love, always," nearly broke me. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it inside my coat pocket. That night, I slept in the shed again, but my dreams were softer. The next morning, I made coffee in the shed. Not in the kitchen. Connor was always there, half-dressed, half-invited. But here, with a little camping stove I had saved from our trip to the lake 10 years ago. The water took longer to boil, but it tasted like control. After breakfast I found a pen. And I wrote back. "Lily, thank you for your letter. I didn't know your mother had told you I wouldn't be home. I didn't know a lot of things, apparently. But I'm here now, in the shed, where the house can't see me. You asked if I wanted to see you. The truth is, I've been waiting for that since the day I left the hospital. Come when you can. I'll be here. Love. Dad." I sealed the envelope and walked 2 blocks to the nearest mailbox. My legs still trembled on long walks, but I didn't care. I stood in the crisp morning air, my breath fogging, and slid the letter in. Hope is a fragile thing. But that morning, it felt real. That night, I returned to the main house to grab some clean clothes. I waited until the lights were low, until I heard Connor's laughter echo faintly through the walls. I didn't want to see them. Not him. Not her. In the hallway, I paused by the family photos. Some were missing. The picture of me holding Lily when she was born. Gone. The one from our 20th anniversary. Gone. In their place, a photo of Marlene and Connor at a winery. Another one with the kids, but only her and them. Cropped carefully. I was being erased. Room by room. Frame by frame. I entered what used to be our bedroom. The bedding was different, expensive looking. There were 2 wine glasses on the dresser, one with lipstick, one with fingerprints. I opened the closet. Half my clothes were in a box. Labeled, "Donate." I didn't take anything. Just looked. And left. As I walked back through the hallway, I passed the kitchen. Marlene stood at the counter, back turned, pouring wine. She didn't hear me at first. Then, "Leonard?" I froze. She turned. "What are you doing in here?" "Getting clothes." "You could have asked." I almost laughed. "Asked?" In my own house? You gave him my room, I said. She sighed. Don't start. Did you tell the kids I wasn't coming home? She looked away. Why? Because I thought it'd be easier. For whom? Silence. I stepped closer. You didn't just move on, Marlene. You replaced me. And now you're pretending that never happened. You don't understand, she said softly. The months without you were hard. Connor helped. He was comforting. I had a stroke, Marlene. I didn't die. Her face crumpled for a second, just a flicker. Then she turned away. I can't do this right now. Neither could I. 3 days later, Lily came. I heard her voice before I saw her, soft, nervous. Dad? Are you here? I opened the shed door. She stood there, clutching her purse, eyes wide and uncertain. Hey, sweetheart, I whispered. She ran to me. We hugged for a long time. She smelled like the same shampoo Marlene used when we first dated. Apples and mint. Memories wrapped in scent. I got your letter, she said, voice cracking. And you came. Of course I did. We sat on the old bench outside the shed. She asked questions. I gave her answers. Not all, but enough. Enough to make her cry. Enough to make me feel like a father again. Why didn't she tell us? Lily asked. Because she didn't want you to choose. But I would have. I would have chosen you. That hurt more than anything. But it healed something too. The next day, Mason showed up. He didn't come to hug. He came to yell. Why are you making Mom feel like the villain? He demanded. I'm not making her feel anything. You could have stayed at the hospital. Let things settle. Now you're here, hiding in the shed like some wounded animal, and making us feel guilty. Is guilt what you feel? He glared. You're not the only one who had it hard. I never said I was. He stormed off. I watched him go, feeling nothing but the ache of knowing I had lost him, maybe long ago. But Lily stayed. She visited again the next day. And the day after. One afternoon, she helped me fix the shed door. Her hands got dirty. She laughed. We drank iced tea and talked about nothing. It was everything. That night, she left me a note. Don't give up on us. Some of us still remember who you are. You can live in the same house and still feel like a ghost. The days blurred after Lily's visit. She became my lifeline, the only proof that I hadn't disappeared entirely from the world I helped build. Every knock on the shed door lifted something in my chest. Every shared cup of tea stitched one more thread between us. But even hope is fragile. One rainy afternoon, as I stared through the small window in the shed, I watched Marlene and Connor carry in a brand new couch. Beige. Leather. Shiny like everything else he touched. It wasn't just a couch. It was another replacement. I remembered the old one. We picked it together. Our backs hurt from sitting on display models for hours. Marlene wanted something soft. I wanted something cheap. We compromised. We laughed. That couch carried 22 years of family. And now it was gone. Later that week, I ran into my neighbor, old Mr. Finley, by the mailbox. He squinted at me like I'd risen from the dead. Leonard? Didn't know you were back. Been back a while. They told us you went to live with your sister in Arizona. I blinked. I don't have a sister in Arizona. He scratched his chin, clearly confused. Strange. That's what your wife said. I smiled. Not because it was funny. You look well, he added. Thinner but strong. I'm trying. He gave me a long look. The kind of look men give when they know something's wrong but won't press. If you ever need a place to sit where the couch hasn't been replaced, he said with a wink, my door's open. One evening, Lily showed me photos on her phone. Old ones? Ones I hadn't seen in years. Camping trips. Birthday candles. Christmas pajamas. You look happy in these, she said. I was. You miss her? I paused. I missed the version of her that smiled with me. She nodded. She didn't push further. Instead, she gave me a small photo she'd printed. It was from her 12th birthday. Me, holding her, cake in hand, icing on her nose. Keep it, she whispered. In case they try to erase that too. It happened the next morning. I walked to the house. I hadn't been inside in days. The smell of cinnamon drifted through the back door. Marlene was baking again. I used to love that smell. I stepped into the kitchen. She turned. For a moment, she looked startled. Not afraid. Just surprised that I still existed. Morning, I said. You shouldn't be here. I still live here. She busied herself with the oven. Connor's working late. I'm not here to see him. Then why are you here? I pointed to the shelf. I want my books. The ones from the study. She didn't argue. Just nodded. I walked down the hall. The study door was ajar. Inside, the shelves were rearranged. My books boxed. Replaced with Connor's trophies, papers, photos. There was one frame left behind. My retirement plaque. 29 years at the electrical plant. Given to me with a handshake and a stale sheet cake. It sat crooked on the bottom shelf. I took it. Not out of pride. Out of proof. As I turned to leave, I heard her voice behind me. You know I didn't plan this. I didn't turn. It just happened. So does lightning. Doesn't mean it's harmless. You don't understand what it was like without you. I finally faced her. And you never asked what it was like for me. She stepped closer. I mourned you, Leonard. In my own way. But I wasn't dead. Her hands trembled. I know. We stood in silence, broken only by the ticking of the hallway clock. The one we bought at a flea market 20 years ago. Still ticking. Still counting. What do you want from me? She asked. Nothing, I said. Not anymore. That night, Mason came to the shed. He didn't knock. You've made Mom cry again, he said. Did she tell you why? She said you're making this harder than it needs to be. Did she mention the letter she never gave you? He frowned. What letter? The one Lily sent while I was in recovery. The one she hid. He didn't answer. You think I wanted this? To live in a shed? To be a guest in my own life? He looked away. I gave everything to this family. And now I get guilt-tripped for not disappearing quietly. You were gone for months. Recovering. Fighting to come home. He left without another word. 3 days later, I came back from a walk to find a small table set outside the shed. 2 mugs. A thermos. A note from Lily. Let's have breakfast here tomorrow. She kept coming. Sometimes with groceries. Sometimes just with time. We didn't talk about her mother or brother. We talked about her job, her hopes, the future. My future. I started sketching again. Not much. Just birds. Trees. The outline of a house that didn't exist yet. But it was something. One night, I caught Marlene watching from the window. Just watching. Not with hate. Not with regret. With distance. Like I was a story she used to know but couldn't read anymore. And I realized then, I wasn't haunting them. They were haunting me. But not for much longer. Some betrayals are loud. Others are made of silence and time. The days after our confrontation were quiet. Tense. Marlene stopped baking. The scent of cinnamon disappeared, and in its place lingered something sterile. Like air that's been filtered too many times. Sanitized. I began walking more. Not far, just down the road, to the lake, to the edge of the woods. Each step a reminder that I still had legs, still had strength, still had the will to choose my direction. Lily noticed. She brought me a notebook. You always like to write things down, she said. I didn't know what to say. So I said thank you. I didn't write in it. Not right away. But I kept it close. One day, a letter came in the mail. Addressed to me. Handwritten. From someone named Joanna. I opened it slowly. Inside were 3 pages. Cursive. Careful. She wrote about a support group she attended, for families of patients who suffered long-term hospitalization. She said Lily had come to one of their meetings once, had cried about a father who was alive but unreachable. She loves you, Joanna wrote. She never stopped. She believed you'd find your way back. And then, a line that caught my breath. Don't let your silence build the same walls that broke you. I folded the letter gently. And that night, for the first time in months, I opened the notebook. I wrote, I am still here. And I will not vanish quietly. Connor had started renovating the house. The kitchen tiles changed. The front door was painted a slick navy blue. The swing I'd built for Lily had been removed from the oak tree. Progress, they called it. Erasure, I called it. Mason didn't visit again. But Lily did. She asked me once, if you could say one thing to them, to Mom, to Mason, and know they'd actually hear it, what would you say? I thought for a long time. I would say, I never left them. They left me. She nodded. That's what I'd say too. Late one night, I heard a knock. Not Lily's. Marlene. She stood in the doorway of the shed like a ghost in her own home. I thought you might be cold, she said, holding a blanket. Thanks. She didn't move to hand it over. Just stared at me. Her lips trembled, but no words came. You can come in, I offered. She stepped inside slowly. She looked around, the drawings pinned to the wall, the photo of Lily and me, the notebook. You made a home here, she whispered. No. I made a refuge. She sat down, not asking. Her eyes were tired. Do you hate me, Leonard? No, I said honestly. But I'm done excusing you. Her eyes glistened. It wasn't love that replaced you, she said. It was fear. You feared life without me. So you rewrote one without me in it? She looked away. I didn't know what else to do. You could have waited. You could have asked. You could have believed. She pulled the blanket tighter. I was so lonely. And I wasn't. The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. Later that week, Lily and I repotted some plants behind the shed. We didn't talk much. Just dug, watered, tended. At one point she looked up and asked, Will you ever forgive them? Forgiveness isn't a door, I said. It's a path. I'm still walking. She smiled. And what about you? I asked. I forgave Mom the day she admitted she was wrong. But I don't think she forgave herself. Maybe that's the beginning. She placed a hand on my shoulder. You're still the strongest man I know, Dad. Even in silence. And somehow, that made everything feel a little less broken. That evening, Marlene placed an envelope at the edge of my shed door. Inside was a handwritten letter. Not an apology. Not yet. But a beginning. Some endings don't come with applause. Just a steady breath. A light left on. A door not locked. Months passed. I didn't count them. But I felt them. Like quiet footsteps behind me. Never rushing. Never pausing. Marlene's letter stayed folded on my desk for weeks. I hadn't replied. Not because I didn't care, but because I finally understood the weight of silence. It wasn't always a punishment. Sometimes it was reflection. Sometimes it was choosing peace. Lily brought over old photo albums one afternoon. We sat in the sun outside the shed. She flipped the pages, and we watched ourselves age in still frames. Birthdays. School plays. Backyard picnics. This one, she said, pointing to a picture of me holding her as a baby, was always my favorite. You had so much hair. I laughed. You had so much hope. I looked at her. She didn't say it to hurt. She said it to remember. And she was right. Mason never came back. He sent Marlene flowers once. Not on her birthday. Just randomly. She didn't keep them. Lilies, she told me. I hate lilies. I smiled. I started taking small jobs again, fixing shelves, building chairs. People remembered my hands. They trusted them. A man from town asked me to restore a church bench. The wood was old, scarred. I ran my palm over the grooves and thought, some scars aren't there to hurt. They're there to remind. So I kept them. Just polished them. One morning, Marlene stood by the shed again. No blanket. No excuses? Coffee? She asked. I nodded. We sat in the kitchen for the first time in a year. She made it exactly the way I liked it. Without asking. I don't expect anything from you, she said. But I wanted to do something familiar. Familiar isn't always comfortable. But it's a start. We sipped in silence. Later, she showed me a drawer full of unopened letters. Medical bills. Updates from the hospital. A get-well card from Lily that had never been sent. I kept them, Marlene whispered. I just couldn't look at them. Why show me now? Because I want you to know I never erased you. I just couldn't face the possibility of losing you. So I shut it all away. Even you. And when I came back? She wiped a tear. I didn't know how to let you in again. That's the thing about doors, I said. They open both ways. Spring arrived slowly. The cherry tree in the yard bloomed late, but when it did, it was stunning. I moved back into the house. Not into the old bedroom. Into the guest room. My choice. It didn't feel like reclaiming a throne. It felt like repotting roots. Lily visited often. She brought plants. Books. Stories. One evening, we all had dinner together. The table was quiet at first. Then Marlene said, "Did you know he once made Lily a dollhouse from scratch? Tiny stairs and wallpaper and all." Lily grinned. "Still have it." I laughed. For the first time, the sound didn't feel foreign. We didn't pretend everything was fine. But we didn't avoid it either. And maybe that's what healing looks like. Weeks later, I stood in the backyard. The tree stump from the old swing still remained. I placed a hand on it. Then I turned to my workbench. I started building again. Not to fill silence, but to shape something new. Marlene watched from the porch. She didn't speak. But I saw it in her eyes, the recognition of a man who came home not to reclaim what was lost, but to honor what endured. Some things don't need to be said to be understood. And some endings are really just quiet beginnings. I smiled.